Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Orbital Takes. Today is Wednesday, August 31st. Today's episode is brought to you by Space Flight Hub and Space with Spo, the only space accounts you need to be following on the beautiful thing we call the internet. Pat, let's jump right into it. Monday sucked. What happened?
Chris, I would ask you, man. You were the one who was there. You were boots on the ground. How are you feeling after the scrub?
I'm not going to lie. I calmed down a little bit. Everybody saw on social media. I was freaking out, a little drunk in the morning over there, but it was just such a letdown, man. And I understand that, this is the space industry. It just really sucked, man. It was an emotional moment. I'm not going to lie. And, I woke up early, 4 a.m., started getting it going. And then while I went to the store to go buy a speaker for the beach, I tried to go get the party going. On the way back, I get a text like, uh-oh, some shit's going down. And I'm like, no, not the weather, right? Because the past 2 days in Florida, the weather in Florida is crazy, right? So that was our biggest concern. After we passed the flight readiness review, we thought we were all good to go, right? Apparently the engines had issues. You know what I mean? What were you seeing on TV?
Yeah, I woke up a little early to watch it, and first it was they were worried about this crack in the flange, which ended up being maybe just some insulation, so not that big of a deal. But then when you started seeing engine number 3 issues with the engine bleed and getting it cooled down to the appropriate temperature, that's one of the things they just weren't able to test. I believe they weren't able to get that figured out in the VAB. And really the only way you can do that is when the vehicle is fully filled up and trying to get the terminal count started there. So yeah, we were hoping for the best, but I think everybody kind of knew this was a possibility, although you'd almost rather have it be scrubbed for weather or something like that, where it's like, well, yeah, what are you going to do? It's thunderstorming. But it's like, yeah, maybe if we had done the sweat dress rehearsal to the completion first, we would have found this. But like we've talked about, it's a brand new rocket. I saw a funny thing on Twitter. What was it? It was better a scrub than an RUD, which is a rapid unscheduled disassembly, which is what SpaceX calls when things blow up.
That's a great point. Yeah, I was thinking that too. And, it was such a beautiful day on Monday too. And I think I would have been a little bit more upset if the weather got it fully. So they actually did get a late start to fill in the tanks because of some clouds and because of some weather issues,
yeah, I saw that.
which did play a big role in it. And ultimately we just ran out of time. There wasn't enough time in that 2-hour window. And there was also some issues I wrote here. I just listened to the press conference. They had some vent valve issues as well with the core stage. And here's my question, Packer. Here's my frustration. These engines aren't new, right? I know it's a new space launch system, and I know this is all coming together for the first time, but it's not new, and that's what frustrates me. It's like the RS-25 is the RS-25. The RS-25 engines, we've used these before in the space shuttles, and for that to be the reason why America didn't watch the return to the moon on Monday, for me, that's what pisses me off almost. You know what I mean? Let me get into the boots on the ground situation. So on the beach, there was thousands of people on the beach in the morning. And the park that I was at, I was a little bit far away at about 15 miles, but there was thousands of people. People were telling me they flew in from the UK. You had people taking red eyes from across the country to get there for this launch. I just think that it just really sucks, dude. It really sucks. And it was an emotional moment for all the people that can't afford to stay in hotels for the whole month because we don't know when it's going to go up again. They're saying right now it's going to be on Saturday at, I think, 2:17 p.m. But what confidence do we have that it can happen Saturday if they just showed us that we're clearly still not ready? There's clearly still a lot of issues. And then when you put in that there's going to be bad, shitty weather on this weekend, there's a storm coming into Florida, that we might not see the SLS launch for another month. And that's really upsetting to me, man.
I was just going to say, the weather looks like 60% unfavorable weather, where on Monday it was 60% favorable weather, almost up to 70% favorable weather. Yeah, and you brought up a good point. The RS-25s were used during the space shuttle. This engine number 3, who is now public enemy number 1 for all us space nerds, big middle finger to that guy. That's it has flown 6 times before. So, you look at SpaceX and you think, oh, that's flight proven. Their boosters fly more than 10 times now, and they got 9 engines on there. Apples and oranges, obviously 2 completely different rocket engines, but just goes to show you the government way of doing things versus the private way of doing things.
I mean, even the people who worked on this rocket, like obviously everybody's bummed. And there's two ways you could look at this. You could be, sour about it, or you could, look at it in a positive light, which I'm trying to do. Like yesterday morning, I made a decision. I'm gonna be upset about it for like an hour, and after that, I just had a great time in Florida. But the reality is, look, we're eventually going back. Hopefully sooner rather than later. I'm happy that we didn't take any risks. I'm happy this thing didn't blow up in the public eye. I mean, I would much rather scrub for a month, 2 months, maybe 6 months, rather than have another situation where a rocket blows up and it sets our program back years. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I will say this though, Pat, being down at the Space Coast last weekend was incredible. I mean, it kind of reminded me of high school football town in Texas. All the stores had all these different writings up with different banners. Go Artemis, kind of like the Permian Panthers and Friday Night Lights, where they're like,
Yes.
go to states and everything. And it was just everybody was on board with this. Everybody was talking about it. You could see this rocket pretty much from anywhere on the beach. So I was really excited to see it. There was a Falcon 9 launch on Saturday that I got too drunk for and I fell asleep.
I was gonna say,
early.
how was that Falcon 9 launch there, Chris?
Yeah, Pat, I hate to tell you, I had one too many cocktails and I was out. And I missed the Falcon 9 launch, and now I'm even regretting it more because I didn't get to see the Artemis launch, and I'm just kicking myself. I flew all the way to Florida, literally to get
Didn't
drunk
even
at
see
the
rocket launch.
all I did was got drunk at the Riki Tiki Tiki bar. That's pretty much it. But
hey, tell me about your hotel. It looked like that hotel was the same that the Mercury astronauts stayed at. Is that right?
Yeah. The original Mercury 7 astronauts.
That's pretty badass.
Let me tell you something, Pat. It was badass, but at the same time, it was like a crack den. All right, like that hotel. My room did not have AC when I first got in there. I called and complained. They literally they had three guys just bring a new AC. They're like, yeah, it was from the '60s or whatever. I'm like, okay, oh, yeah, there you go.
Wow.
But it was a good experience, and you know what? It had that old school Florida vibe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how, in the past, you see everybody wearing these really nice suits in Florida and everybody's got their suits and ties on, especially the guys that worked at NASA and the astronauts. I don't know how they do it. The humidity down there is fucking
Oh my
incredible.
God.
I
Oh, I
I
know.
literally couldn't breathe at times. And you can see I got a decent amount of color, which was nice, but it's hot down
And you
there,
also
man.
thinking about their suits back then were 100% cotton. They're not even
Yeah.
like performance fabric like we have today.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, no, but the hotel was all right. It was just a little it needs a renovation, put it that way. The Mercury, it should be renovated to not reflect the Mercury astronauts, maybe just a space shuttle, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
But
I liked the marquee they had up front that said Godspeed Artemis 1. When you sent
oh
me
shit.
that photo, I was like, holy shit, this is
Yeah.
like, when you watch Apollo 13,
Yeah.
I think it's that same
Mhm.
hotel that said Godspeed Apollo 13, and it's like, oh my God, like this is actually happening.
Yeah, it's really old school and it's got like a nice layout as a sick pool in the middle. And then the beach is only like a 2-minute walk across the street, which is awesome. And let me say something, a big win of the weekend was these beach bars in Florida. I had a great time. Let me shout out so my launch of the week, Pat, was actually going to be the Riki Tiki bar in Cocoa Beach. It's this
There you
bar
go.
so it's this bar that's like, it's on the beach, but it's out on like where the waves break. And it's got the best wind flow. They got neon lights. Everybody from NASA was there. Every SpaceX fan was there. We were all rocking space gear, and we were all basically drinking away the pain together. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
it was an emotional moment, man. And let me tell you something. You asked me on the phone. You said, Spo, did you see the SLS? And let me tell you a funny story, Pat. So I get to the beach, and there is this long tower with like another tower next to it. And I'll throw it up right here. You guys may have seen it on my story before I took it down. So I'm out there, I go up to this group of kids on the beach. I'm like, hey, yo, that's the SLS, right? They're like, yeah, that's the SLS. I'm like, oh my God. I start getting emotional. I'm like, dude, that's the Space Launch System. I'm finally looking at America's next moon rocket. I'm like having the best day of my life. So I'm sitting next to these guys at the bar, and I wanted them to take a picture of me by the beach. And basically, this guy ended up taking a photo of me, and he's like, "What are you down here for?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm covering the launch. I got this podcast called OT." And he's like, "Hey, I actually worked on the SLS." So shout out a guy from Idaho. It's one of my new friends from Idaho who actually worked on the SLS. And I'm telling him, I'm like, "Look, isn't it crazy? The SLS is right there. We can see it right in the ocean." He's like looking at his phone. He goes, dude, that's not the SLS. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, dude, that's a water tower, man. What do you mean? I'm like, no, that's the rocket right there. He goes, bro, that ain't the rocket. He's like, the rocket's way more inland that way. It's rockets on launch pad 39B. That is a water tower, and that is a crane, and that is an empty crane. So long story short, I had an emotional moment for almost 24 hours over a crane and a water tower. So thank God for a guy from Idaho, because if it wasn't for him, I would have had my camera pointed in the wrong way. So that's just a funny story of what you know, how things can be deceiving out there. You know what I mean?
You sent me that video, and I was after I was like, "Have you laid have you laid eyes on her yet?" And you're like, "Bro, check this out." And I'm like, "Oh my god, you're seeing it! Oh my god!"
I even got you.
30 minutes later, bro, that's a water tower. Whatever.
I can't tell you how embarrassed I was. And you know what? I'm not like I didn't know exactly where Launchpad 39B was. You know what I mean? And it was far. It was late in the afternoon. I was tired, you know, a little bit of drinking. Shit, man, that would have been so funny if like if they did go off and I had my camera pointed in the wrong way. So you guys may have seen that on my story, but I ended up deleting it because I got really fucking embarrassed. But yeah, they just have like this random crane out there in the middle of the ocean. That would be such a sick place to watch a launch though, from that view. Did you see that view? It's like right on the water,
Yeah.
right on the horizon. It's fire.
That guy that I sent you who's doing I think they call it Starfleet or something like that. They take boats out and you can actually watch a launch from out there. That would be sick.
The boats are fire. A lot of my
Artemis 2, bro. Let's maybe we consider that for Artemis 2.
Rent a yacht, get a fucking yacht out there for Artemis 2, because a lot of the people a lot of space guys I follow rented boats and they were like right on the water, right by right by the rocket. It was crazy. It's just really disappointing, man. Everybody was in town. You know, you had the vice president, you had 100,000 tourists. I don't know how many people are going to be staying for Saturday now. And, you know, it's just a big letdown. Even I think everybody out there was expecting a go. I mean, when we heard 70% go to 8, so at first it was 70% chance of launch for weather, and then it went to 80%. And, you know, all us gambling guys are like, oh, we're out of here. You know what I mean? Like, no, we're at 80%. Like, I'll fucking put that down any day. You know what I mean? But then I honestly thought weather was going to be the issue, and it ended up being, can we even call it mechanical or what?
Yeah, I think you call it mechanical. Yeah, mechanical.
Yeah, so that was pretty much the biggest blue balls moment in launch history for me, at least. So what about
biggest
those
blue balls moment? Yeah.
What about those Engine 3 memes you sent over? That was some funny shit.
Oh my god. My favorite one was NASA tweets, "We are ready." The guy goes, "So that was a fucking lie." That was the best one. But yes, all these like engine number 1, engine number 2, engine number 4, like partying, and there's this engine number 3 guy passed out in the background. That's a good one too.
So what's your scrub of the week?
My scrub of the week is the Artemis 1 launch.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you I don't know if you heard, but it was scrubbed.
I saw something about that. Yeah. No, good. Yeah, no, good.
Yeah, we were all excited on Monday. Yeah. You were down there, and then it scrubbed.
No, Pat, good thing I didn't fly to Florida for the Artemis 1 launch. You know what I mean?
Right.
It got scrubbed. I don't know if it got scrubbed.
Oh, wait. Yeah, hey, that just means you and I get to see an Artemis launch together for the first time.
We are 100% going to be there. We got to get closer than where I was in Cocoa Beach. We got to get
I'm willing to drop some money to get as close as we can, which I'm sure a lot of people are too. So we got to stay on top of that.
Dude, I feel for all the people that bought like the Feel the Heat package for like $500, $600 at NASA. Like, what are those people going to do that like flew in from across the world? I wonder if they get refunds.
I'm unfamiliar with this. What is that?
No, so on NASA's website at the Kennedy Space Center or the Kennedy Space Center website, they had all these different packages where you can, there was like a Feel the Heat package that it was like 5 miles away. Then there was like $1,000 package where it was like 4 miles away. My homie that worked on the SLS, he got a special VIP invite for like 2 miles away, 3 miles away. So there's different like mileage that you can pay for. I wonder what happened with all these tickets.
So there was this guy who bought a ticket to the ISS called
Wait, to the ISS? He bought a ticket to the International Space Station?
Yeah, he bought a ticket to the ISS on a Russian Soyuz rocket because NASA denied him. Now, this is back in the he flew on to Skylab 2 and
oh wow, that's far back.
Yeah, he went to the ISS for a week back in the early 2000s. His name is Richard Garriott. And he made a ton of money in the video game and tech industry and big space nerd. And he was one of the very first ISS tourists. And he got so close to a Russian Soyuz launch, like within half a kilometer or something like that.
Oh my God.
And he was like, we are well within the kill zone. like well within it. Like if the rocket blows up, I'm dead. And so I would love to get maybe not that close, but I
Yeah.
want to be like, oh, is this safe? I don't know. And
I,
just like feel the rocket just like crush you,
yeah.
not literally crush you because that
They
would suck.
they call it the feel the heat package. I mean, the guy that was filling up the eggs in the morning at the Continental Breakfast was telling me that you do smell and like feel the rocket, at least from the space shuttle days. So I mean, I
For
was
sure.
expecting to feel it. And Pat, I'm just so fucking bummed I'm not there to feel it. And guys, just so you know, I know we joked about it all month. I literally just could not afford to stay there all month. Simple as that. Could not afford to stay there
Yeah.
without moving there permanently and getting out of New York City. So shit,
Yeah.
man. Do you think that that's like, do you think that the rest of the world is kind of looking at us right now and laughing, especially
I
Russia?
don't I don't think they're laughing. I don't think they're laughing. I think if they do laugh, then we'll have the last laugh
I like that.
when this Artemis thing launches.
I
Yeah.
like that. I'll tell you
No,
what.
I think if you are laughing, you're like, what the fuck, NASA? Like you're just pretty ignorant about how the whole thing works.
Mhm,
Because yes, like these are obviously used, not used, but components that we are familiar with somewhat. But it's a brand new configuration,
mhm,
and it's the most power. Once it launches, it's even more powerful than Falcon Heavy.
mhm.
So it's going to be the most powerful rocket ever flown when it does fly. And think about back in the '60s, how many rockets blew up
Yeah.
when they were trying to figure this out.
Yeah, yeah,
So
especially with the space shuttle. I know one of the space shuttle missions scrubbed almost 5 times. On the fifth time, it was flawless, though, right? So we're not going to fly this
yeah,
thing until we're 100% confident. And I think
yeah.
this is going to be a good story at the end of the day. Think positively. Look, like if at first you don't succeed, try again. And this just goes to show you, that we're not going to give up and we are going to get back to the moon. And I don't want to talk any more shit on this rocket. Like I know I made a lot of jokes about it on Monday, but I was frustrated. You know what I mean? But at the end of the
Hmm.
day, I do want this to
Understandable,
work,
dude.
and I'm happy that we're gonna try again Saturday, and then if not on Saturday, hopefully again on Monday. And then if not, who honestly, Pat, who the fuck knows when this thing is gonna fly when
Yeah,
it's
if it doesn't
ready?
fly Saturday, then it could be pushed to a lot later, if I'm understanding right.
Yeah,
Because of the way the launch window is, and they have to roll it back
the moon.
and retank and everything, there just may not be enough time to do that
Yeah,
within the second launch attempt in a window here in September. So I'm
yep.
proud of you for looking past it. Obviously
It
pretty
wasn't easy. Yeah,
pissed yesterday, and understandably so. It's a little bit easier for me to be like, hey, we'll try to get on Friday, but I didn't,
yeah.
drop thousands of dollars to go down there. So
Good point. Well, it was nice being around, all of our space fam and everything. Dude, everybody in the space community is the shit. Everybody's nice. Everybody's like a great vibe. Everybody has great vibes to them. So yeah, man, good luck to, everybody working on this rocket. And let's hope this thing gets off the ground in the next month. Let's just
mhm.
let's do that. Let's hope this just gets off
Yeah.
the ground in the next month.
I have a couple friends who work very closely on the SLS, and you guys know who you are. I'm not going to mention you by name, but I saw the comments on your Facebook pages, and again, just kind of ignorant people.
Mhm.
You guys have been working on this for 10 years now, and let's make sure it gets off the ground right, and
Yep. Yep.
we don't force it. So,
All right.
uh,
All right. So let me just finish with a quick launch of the week. So my launch of the week, because nothing else launched this week. Actually, Falcon 9 launched Starlink satellites. But my launch of the week is going to be the James Webb Telescope found carbon dioxide on an exoplanet for the first time in history that we found carbon dioxide on an alien world. So this was we found this on WASP 39b. It's about 700 light years away. And this is really important for us. I mean, once we start finding carbon dioxide on planets, we can start easily figuring out the planet's origin and if it's a gas giant or if it's a solid planet, kind of like Earth. So this is really big fucking news, and it kind of got overshadowed by all the Artemis news and the Jupiter photo drop from the JWST last week. Kind of,
mhm.
stole the spotlight of this a little bit, but this is massive news. People forget that the James Webb Telescope obviously is going to look back, extremely far back into time, but we're also looking into the atmospheres of exoplanets, which is fucking sick.
Yeah,
Launching the James Webb Telescope, obviously, right?
yeah,
Obviously. And then
yep.
my other launch of the week is the Riki Tiki Bar in Cocoa Beach. Fantastic establishment. If you're in Florida, make sure you hit the Riki Tiki Bar. They pour really big tequila shots. Great time over there. My scrub of the week, Pat, is going to be the launch readiness review. Whatever happened in that review, clearly they didn't do a well enough job. We're going to scrub the RS-25 engines, and we are going to scrub the humidity in Florida. I could not stop sweating. I'm still sweating, and that's pretty much all I got for this week.
My launch of the week is there was some news with the Perseverance rover. Again, was probably overshadowed by this whole Artemis thing, but the Perseverance rover has figured out that the Jezero crater is not made of sedimentary rock; it's made of igneous rock. And what the hell does that mean? It means that it's the rock was formed in some kind of volcanic either eruption or some kind of volcanic process, rather than just sedimentary levels being laid one on top of the other. So not what they were expecting to find, but just filling in more pieces of the puzzle there. So
Oh,
not the most exciting
wow.
thing, but it continues to churn along and pump out invaluable data there in Mars. I'm also going to launch the space community's meme game of the week, launch of the week, for all of the various RS-25 memes that I've
Yeah.
seen,
No, they
and
killed it.
I'm gonna post some of my favorites. So
Yeah, the space community is really creative when it comes to memes. We have some of the best memes out there, but they're very. Do you think they're exclusive to space fans? Like, a lot of people wouldn't
a
understand
lot of,
all of
I
them.
would say a lot of them are exclusive
Yeah,
to space fans, but like the one we talked about earlier. We are ready. That is a fucking lie.
yeah.
Anybody can understand that one.
All right, so there you have another quick episode of Orbital Takes. Once again, stay tuned for this Artemis launch. We'll keep you guys updated on our Instagram. Thank you guys for all the support. We see all the comments, we see all the love. Thank you guys again. Pat, you got anything?
Yeah, thank you. Like you said, to everybody who follows us, we do see all of that and all the comments and everything. So we really appreciate you following along. Give us a review and 5 stars on whatever podcast platform you listen to us on, and add Astra, everybody.
Ad Asher, guys. We'll see you next week.